some changes were made in the legislation to make sterner penalties for things like distribution of hate literature in response to an increased perception of groups like the Aryan Nation and the Heritage Front. And while it's definitely important to preserve free speech, freedom of speech, it is also clear that the increased activity of such groups also needs to be addressed as well. And I'm wondering what thoughts you might have about what means could be done so apart from trying to make stricter penalties for distribution of hate literature.
Well, I'm against it. I don't think the state should have the power to decide what people think and say. Right. I don't want the state to have that power. And I think it's bad to have people running around with hate literature, but the way to do it is not to give power to some more dangerous entity like the state. What you have to do is meet them on, get to the people that they're reaching. Right. They are reaching people who are susceptible to this literature. Why? Well, for reasons of the kind I mentioned. Let's take the people who have been subjected to the social policies that we all know and which we just alluded to. Yeah, they're going to be frightened, angry. They're going to search for somebody to blame it on. They're going to be easy targets for hate literature, just as they were under the Nazis. Well, the way to deal with that was not to outlaw Mein Kampf. That wouldn't have changed a thing. It was to deal with the sources in the society for what Hitler was appealing to. And the same is true here. Incidentally, if you're worried about talk that harms people, picking out hate literature is a very odd choice. Yes, that harms people, but free market ideology harms them way more. If you want to know people who are really suffering, who's really suffering from the kind of IMF fundamentalism, which is mostly phony, but it's true that it's a dominant ideology, at least among elites. Well, go to, Africa or Latin America or poor slums in the United States, and you'll find people suffering, mostly women, incidentally, and suffering miserably, like mortality rates for women and infants have gone way up. Okay, hate literature hasn't done that. If you're worried about harming people, there are much more obvious candidates. And the answer to this is not to have the state powerful enough to stop people from talking about this stuff. That's not the answer.